All right, so I fabbed up a little block here, hardwood maple block. I've taped off the sides that are gonna get glue because I'm gonna paint the rest of the hardwood cream so that it will blend in. But if you can see, that sneaks right in there, fits nicely. It's gonna cover up that hole and give us some support that we need. So I'm going to take this down in the basement and I'm going to paint it with the cream, the Vanilla Gorilla from Guitar Re-Ranch, just so that it'll blend in a little bit. No one will ever see it but me, but I know that it's going to be there. All right, all my friends, welcome to the third installment here of the Chinesium Jackson Firebird. You saw the little snippet there in the beginning. I did get the piece painted and glued there in place. Came out quite nicely there. Just a little extra support. Plenty of wood glue in there. That's a hard piece of, I believe that's maple, hard rock maple. Pretty nice. So anyway, we're going over fixing all of the issues here, and basically I'm not gonna lie here, I've run into issues with absolutely every single thing that I've touched on this guitar. So you see I filled the holes here, and the only reason for that is because I'm going to use much smaller number 2 all-part screws to hold the metal covers in place. So it doesn't really matter. I've used touch-up paint. It didn't really match quite as well as I'd wanted it to. Unimportant. That's all going to be covered up. So right here, I wanted to use a real claw because the one that came with it was really thin and really narrow. Well, the screws, you know, they kind of go in like this to fit this claw, which is fine. But this one is kind of on an angle. This one's kind of straight where it should be. So this doesn't really sit flat. It is going to fit under the cover. That's the important thing. That doesn't really matter. I did drill out the hole here so I could use this nice piece of cloth wiring, running it into this, you know, the cavity here for the volume knob. I did use a solid shaft pot in here, and to get it to fit, what I did was I ground off this PCB board here with a Dremel as much as I could, and bent these out of the way just as much as I could, just to give the clearance, and it still was as tight as heck in there and did not want to go in. I did leave the wire. I just decided, just as simple, to use that nice two-piece wire there. Okay, so moving on, we've got there we go, the input jack, and I bought a Goto nice solid steel plate here, and I've got a Switchcraft jack, and quite honestly, this is a train wreck under here. I had to fill the holes because this, and it's hard to see, I don't know if you can tell, this hole, it's drilled at an angle, okay? So that means that a proper Switchcraft jack will only fit in there in one direction and still function. And guess what? Then the screw holes don't line up. This is a point that I will not yield on. I'm going to use a metal plate. I will not use a plastic plate. They always break. I just won't. And I wanted a real Switchcraft jack, so I made it work. But how hard would this have been? Just drill it straight. Just drill a straight hole and then drill your angle to get to the compartment. This hole being on an angle really messed things up. So yeah, you can see kind of a train wreck under there, but I've got some hardwood shards and wood glue in there. I'm gonna get this on. You're never gonna see it. It's going to be covered up. All right, so problem there. I did have to open up the hole here for that solid shaft pot, but that's, you're going from an Asian pot. It doesn't matter the guitar, an Epiphone or whatever. They use metric. It's always going to be smaller. I just use a reamer here to ream out the hole so that it will fit, you know, a solid. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, that's par for the course. You're going to have to do that. So where else? Pickup ring. I had a nice DiMarzio pickup ring on here. Wouldn't fit. Would have had to drill new holes for that. This is a little wider, and the DiMarzio, I would have used it and I would have filled those and drilled new holes, but it didn't quite cover either. You could see the gap. So the hole for the pickup is a tad wide. This pickup ring is oversized. The good thing is this is a nice shiny plastic on an angle. It's just like a DiMarzio anyway. So there. Let's get the guitar flipped around and go over some more issues. All right, so that weird locking clamp that they use, I've got tape on it here, but if you notice, it's wide so that it's got that lifting mechanism there, these little grub screws so that you can adjust which is kind of a neat idea to set up, for your action and so on. However, what this did was have this setup here moves the entire thing back, so these holes here would not line up for a standard Floyd Rose clamp. So, yep, filled those with hardwood shards and wood glue to accept the clamp. So the clamp would fit like so. You can't really see it, but leaving a big gap there, we want it up tight here. So get yourself a set of punches. I've mentioned this before. I haven't drilled yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape the clamp in place here. I'm going to use the center punches to mark the holes. I'm going to pre-drill, and Bob's your uncle, that's going to work the trick. So let's talk about what everyone in the comments is so concerned about, and they're all hitting me over the head over and over and over in the comments, and that is the headstock. Okay, I get it. I know it's not right. We all can see, we all have eyes. I know the headstock's not right. I knew that going in. You could tell even from the limited pictures that they take trying to cover up the logo that the headstock is not right. Okay, again, this is a Chinese knockoff. It would be nice if they got the headstock right. I don't know why they didn't. Why, I'm sure they've got 1,000 of these guitars on container ship in California that they're selling, or at factories in China. I don't know why. Clearly, they have no issues whatsoever with copyright, because we throw Jackson, made in USA, lie, not a Jackson, not made in USA, custom shop, lie, lie, lie. There's 3 lies right there. What are the big lies? I love you, the check is in the mail, and I won't. Oh yeah, let's leave that one out. Anyway, so you can see here, I've measured, I've just put a little piece of tape on here as to what the kind of the differences are in the headstock. And I don't at this point, I don't think I'm going to do anything to the headstock. I just did that for demonstration purposes. But here is, that's tough to see. Let's move some stuff out of the way. Here's what we're dealing with. This is an outline of the Chinesium headstock. This is a real one. I had a hard time with this. Someone's going to send me a nice template that they have. I have a reverse headstock on my Jackson Kelly, but it's strung up, has tuners on it. I'm not going to break it down just for this demonstration here. But what I found was this measurement here on a real Jackson is 6 1/4 inches, okay? And that's a nice straight line. On the Chinesium, it's 6.5 inches. That's a full 1/4 inch, okay? Now, there's something wrong in this area as well. This is a little too pronounced. I think this would need to be eased a little bit, so that 1/4 inch probably has to come off a 1/16 or so here, and the rest of it coming off the other end. The other measurement is this angle here on the Chinese guitar is 2 1/4 inches, when on a real Jackson it's only 1 5/8. That's huge, right? So this being too long, this being nice and short, this being too long also makes our nice graceful swoop, whatever you want to call it here, it's too big. So this, you cut this piece off, and now your length is, this should be here, and now your swoop, and it's really just kind of connecting the lines between your nut and here. And like I said, I just did that just for demonstration purposes there. So those are the problems as I'm dealing with. I did check the frets for level. They are level. They do need to be polished. Someone commented they're small frets. They're not small. I think you would call these, I think they're they're medium jumbo frets. I'm not sure the Dunlop number for them, but yes, I know a real Jackson would have 6100 or even 6000 jumbo or extra jumbo frets. And this is not a real Jackson. I like the comments. I still respond to all my comments, but people kind of pointing out to me the differences. I know, we all know. This is not a Jackson. It's a Chinese knockoff. All right, so I'm going to get back to work here. I'm going to get this drilled. I'm going to get drilled for the input jack and put the tuners back on. I am going to use the Chinese tuners. Everyone's like, swap the tuners, swap the tuners, swap the tuners. And quite honestly, it doesn't matter. They're after the locking clamp. As long as they make gross tuning adjustments and they hold, they don't slip, they'll be fine. If I had a Tune-O-Matic or a fixed bridge, something like that with a regular nut here, I would of course put good quality tuners here. But it's funny because I got this off Ed Roman's site years ago. After the locking clamp, it really doesn't matter. Get your gross tuned strings, stretched and tight. As long as those tuners hold. Now we got a locking clamp. Now we got a fine tuner at our other end. That's what we're going to do. So I am going to use the Chinese Goto knockoff tuners are going to remain. Anyway, enough of me blah blah blahing. Let's get to making a guitar out of this. Cool. All right, so under the terms of nothing is easy, I don't know why I'm surprised here. Got the locking clamp put on. One of the screws wanted to walk into the old hole. This one fit pretty nicely. Got that one put in first to get the thing clamped into place right where I wanted it. Got the other one there. I'm not super happy with the fitment. It fits good where it should, up here against this edge and through 3/4 of the travel here. But there's like a little gap, which basically means the shelf isn't completely flat. But whatever. Fits super tight here and, is what it is. Got that done. That came out nicely, actually. That fit on there pretty good. Again, I would have preferred a football plate, but that did the trick. I taped it in place and drilled those holes. So I'm going to use the Kahler Steeler on this, and I'm like, oh, I got a bunch of big blocks laying around. Why don't I use one of those? But all I have are 42s left. So the Kahler, God, the screws that hold the block into the Kahler are not the same thread as a Floyd Rose, and the diameter is thinner. Fantastic. So I have to get other screws from a Floyd, or a fake Floyd, because you can tell because they're Phillips. To mount this, they won't go through the base plate. So I have to get my machinist drill sets out, and hold on one second. And drill out to an 11/64. So I drill out just the one hole to test this. And then the screw won't fit through the spring plate. Let's drill that out too. Fantastic. Sure, why not? Put it in. Fits. Boy, not a lot of travel. So let's do this. We flip it over. Have a look. And yep, sure enough, the block's going to be too tall. I need a 37. So, is what it is. I'm not going to go through the trouble of getting a 37. Just have a big block on there. These will fit, but I don't think I'd get a cover on there. The springs would stick up too much. Now, this is a real Floyd Rose part, by the way. And do you see where the holes are located? They're in the center of this block, which makes it very difficult to get springs on. You need to make sure you have one that will fit, and that will do it. Yeah, it's just too close. They'll hit the cover when it's on, and whatever. The ones that came with the guitar, the springs that came with the guitar, the diameter of the wire they used is too big. It won't go in there at all. That's why I had such a hard time getting these out of the old tremolo. It's like, really, every single thing is not standard in the slightest. It gets frustrating, my friends. It really does. When everything you touch, just, there's a problem. Problem with everything you touch. I did learn something kind of interesting, is the Kaler anatomy, all SAE threads, by the way. But I don't know if you can see this. I like the way they do this rather than the Floyd, where they have the slide like this. Easier for intonation than the 3 holes. So I'm trying to take this apart, believing that there's two halves, if that makes sense. That I have like a screw and a nut, thinking that this is like the nut here on the back, and this is the screw. So I'm going to take this off, and you go to loosen it, and I'm going to the back side after. I'm going to loosen it, loosen it, you know, counterclockwise, and it's tightening. I'm like, what the heck? Confused me. It's one piece. It's a grub screw with a washer. Can you see that? Pretty ingenious, actually. This is the nut that holds this in place. So, when we go back in here, counterintuitive, but we're tightening this, we're turning it clockwise. Pretty neat. So, anyway, you know, I don't know what I'm really doing here. This block, this spring block, is actually really, it's very dense. It's nice and heavy. It's heavier than this is a real Floyd one. I'm not sure what it's made out of. It's nice. The Kaler stuff is very nice. It really is. Very, very nice, very precision machined. So I don't know why I'm dicking around here, messing around trying to put a big block on here in the first place anyway. I should have just left this stupid thing alone. So, yeah. Let's get this Kaler put back together, get it mounted on the guitar. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the third installment here. You know, we got the Kaler Steeler in there. Pretty nice. It's a nice trem. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to convert from Floyd, but man, that's nice. It's well built. These are not heavy duty springs. These are just some black springs. They had a nice tension. I just tested them with my hand, and they seem to work pretty well. So, but yeah, we've reached a good stopping point for this week. I want to show you guys something that I did do, and I think it turned out pretty good. Seeing the headstock with that blue tape on it, marking off the Jackson, the Better of Jackson outline, I grabbed some black pinstriping tape, and I did this. And up close, you know, you can see some lines and some folds and some cuts, but it looks nice. You got to remember, guys, guitars, you know, Van Halen's guitars actually had tape on them. You know, that purple one with yellow and tape. Anyway, got the idea from this from the Hamer, with, you know, how they kind of featured and accentuated that headstock. I put the Glenn Tipton sticker on there to cover up the original owner, who had his name put on there. But, and you know, you guys know this is a refin, but look at the stinger that they put on that thing. They did a sweet, sweet, sweet job. Right? Awesome. Anyways, that's where I get the idea. Let's see if we can get some, there we go, better. So anyway, that's the third installment. I'm still waiting for some parts. I've got some shallow strap locks on order. I got those metal plates on order. Those take a long time, so please be patient. I promise that the third installment is coming, where we'll find out if this is actually a guitar or a pile of junk. Will it play? That's the most important thing. Certainly looks great, looking the part, but will it play? remains to be seen. So as always, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Truly appreciate your support. Hit me up in the comments. Still replying to all of my comments. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Tons of great content. And give me the thumbs up. Truly appreciate the thumbs up and support. Helps me with YouTube's algorithm. All right, so comments, subscribe, thumbs up. Yeah, awesome, my friends. Take care. Bye-bye.